Hey, yo. Welcome to another episode of the SuperFlex Fantasy Football Show with your host, Kedz and Crew. That's me. And my guy, the King of Pop Nomad, to my left or right, depending on where you guys are seeing this and how this is being presented. But in any event, what's popping, y'all? Crazy week in football. Bears win. You know, to all you Bears fans out there. Super hype about some of these movements. My fantasy football world was basically a 50-50 split. Two of my teams won, two of my teams lost. What can you do? One of those weeks. But most importantly, I'm super hyped that the Bears pulled something out. And Bears players made a little bit of fantasy football impact this week, which also was to my detriment. Such is life. In any event, got my guy the Notch just jumping in. What it do? Super flexer the Notch. What's cracking, my brother? Give these guys a little bit of time to filter all in the rest of the super flexers out there. Throw this over to the King of Pop. Let him give the world a little bit of love. What are you saying, King of Pop?
Well, ask me where I'm from.
Where are you from?
I'm from a town called Fresh Off Your Ass, and my foot needs a break. No, man, listen, finally got a dub, man. Finally got me a victory. You know, I started.
Well, you lost the first two?
I lost what? That was week 4.
Week 4, you lost 3? Dang.
Lost 3, man. But that's all due to how you started the show off. We had a bunch of non-performers, man, and one of my key guys would be what's his name? Swift, whatever his name is, DeAndre Swift. Yeah, he just the Bears couldn't find a running game, man, and they just wasn't scheming it up right, using them the right way. And finally, somebody had a powwow and figured out, this guy never forgot how to play football. We just not using him the right way, and boom, off he went to the explosion. And it was beautiful to watch, man. That's what you expect out of a guy that explosive. So I had a pretty good week, man. And sorry, man, I got a sore foot, and I know you got a sore behind right now. So just wanted to say I apologize, man.
Let this be the first and the last time you talk about my behind. in any event, yeah, he got me this week, guys. That was one of the two that I did not pull out, mainly because of DeAndre Swift. He's right. DeAndre Swift came out of the woodwork, put up 30 plus fantasy football points in this particular league, this PPR that we're rolling in, this super flex league. Man, a little bit embarrassing. I actually benched him in one of my other leagues, and it cost me my week as well. So, those are my two losses are basically back-to-back due to DeAndre Swift, and it's embarrassing. But fine. Glad they figured out the run game in Chicago. Let's just hope that this thing continues on a little bit, and the DeAndre Swift show continues on, because I like I say, I got him rostered in at least one of my leagues. So yeah, I can use it.
Yeah, to kind of give it's a fantasy lesson is what it is. The guy didn't forget how to play football. Everybody was writing him off. He was a trash signing, and he was this, he was that. You knew at some point he was going to pick. And so that's what happens in the fantasy world. You cannot get timid with your key guys that you chose to be RB1, QB1, WR1, and all those types of things. You have to roll with them and take your lumps as they come. But the minute you decide he's not what you thought he was, and you sit him, he's going to prove you wrong and remind you why he got the status that he got. And so that's a lesson. So hopefully you take that and keep it in your wallet with you.
I can't take it as any kind of a lesson, because at the same time, if somebody's not performing in fantasy and you have bench that will perform, sometimes you got to do what you got to do. I really wasn't sure if Shane Waldron and the gang was going to figure this thing out by way of DeAndre Swift, especially given our last show. We sat here and talked a little bit about Roschon Johnson and his potential impact from a fantasy perspective. And to be honest with you, he got in the end zone too. He put up some numbers, wasn't the 30 plus that DeAndre Swift put up. But you know what I mean? It was interesting to see them finally unlock him. As opposed to just unlock the run game.
Yeah. It's a lot of, like, if you looked at that thumbnail, it's a lot of people like myself sitting there with Justin Fields on the bench. It's a lot of people that ran and scooped up Carson Steele, who I think is still a viable flex piece, because he's probably going to be the goal line back. But now that they have Kareem Hunt, you just don't really know exactly what that's going to be like. They lost Rashee Rice. It's a lot of factors to play into how Kansas City might attack teams from here on out. You know what I mean? So, he's on the thumbnail talking about Carson Steele, but I just don't know how viable he is for a role. I'm feeling like you probably can get better elsewhere.
Man, you just said Kansas City, Rashee Rice down. And I suppose we've got a little bit of breaking news out there because a certain somebody doesn't want to play somewhere anymore. And we'll pop that up here right now.
While you're talking about that, it's funny. The derivative of this story comes from Antonio Pierce, Coach Antonio Pierce, head coach of the Raiders, not liking, and when he liked someone said that something to the fact of they ought to think about trading Devontae Adams or something like that. And Antonio Pierce, an NFL head coach, liked the comment. And so he got asked at a presser talking about Devontae Adams. And he, I guess, I don't know, he might not have known that was going on. Everybody doesn't know who's liking or not liking shit all the time. But, he didn't know. And later on, I think that came out, the fact that he said he preferred to move on to somewhere else.
Yep. That's Devontae Adams, folks. So that's what you're looking at there. This is ESPN breaking that news. It's also been broken by Adam Schefter, which is really what I was showing you before. And Ian Rappaport. Those guys are definitely as connected to the inside NFL as any human being could possibly be. What it do, Scottish Bear? What's popping? Daryl Gibson, good to have you. What's going on, Aunt Mas? Good to have you guys, coming through and showing your love, showing us support. In any event, watch out. Devontae Adams could wind up on a team, near you. And I got a little worried because I thought for a second, man, Kansas City could use something like this. And I'm sure Andy Reid wouldn't have a hard time throwing a second at that. But they're in division. And if I was the Raiders, like I said, like I say about the Lions, Vikings, and Packers, I just would never do business, man. I thought that's just something I would never do. So is what it is. We'll see where he winds up. Do we think Adams is still good? Man, I actually do.
That's a silly ass question because I think right now what I would do, what are we, 2-3 weeks outside of the trade deadline or something like that? What right now his fantasy value is next to nothing. I wouldn't even sniff the thought of putting him in my lineup right now, knowing that he might be on the trade block. The usage won't be what you need it to be. But if you're one of those people that want to look along the line into the future, it's a good guy to stash if you want to go out there and try to be, riverboat gambler and try to make a trade for him. This is a good time to try that if you want to do that. And you need receiver help. This is a good time to make a move on him because not everybody actually knows what's going on. And the insiders, not every fantasy football guy knows what's going on. So might take your advantage. Might take a chance and have you an advantage in that department.
Definitely worth a conversation, right? Throw something out of Devontae Adams. Because, again, who knows where he winds up? Ooh, wow. New Orleans Saints?
What's that?
I'm just throwing that out there into the world.
Him and Derek Carr again?
Yeah.
How well did that work the first time?
Oh, it wasn't by way of fantasy football, it was a great situation for both of those guys, actually.
I thought they looked good together. The problem was the coaching wasn't very good, so the team kind of fell apart. Like, if Adams was on the John Gruden version of the Raiders, whew.
Hello.
Whew.
Yeah,
You
that
got
would have been
you
disgusting.
got a question from Daryl Gibson if you want to answer that.
Oh, Daryl, you late to the dance, Daryl. You late to the dance, but we'll get you next year, dog. We'll get you next year. Promise. But yeah. So that's just a little bit of heat, a little bit of heat in the NFL. Good old Devontae's moving on, or will be moving on very likely. They don't make this kind of noise without really thinking about shopping him. And it's interesting because I mean they've been winning thus far. Strangely, Raiders been doing okay. Quite the contrary to what I thought that their record would look like at this point. But he's not feeling the quarterback situation over there, and I don't blame him. And I could see not like the second is a thing though. I don't see a lot of folks really throwing a 2 at that. Like with the
Oh yeah, you can get a 2 out of that.
You think so?
It's an arms race. You got to just think. Kansas City is the team that should be sending everybody's antennas up and rabbit ears up because they possibly, I don't know how long they lost Rashee Rice. When a guy gets carted off the field, that ain't good. So that's the situation to monitor. And to me, they're the front runner. And you start thinking about teams that might want to join that arms race and think they can go a ways in the playoffs. Does Cincinnati get it turned around? Do they let T. Higgins go on the trade market and bring in a Devontae Adams? Who knows? It can go a lot of different directions. Actually, the 49ers need a shot in the arm. So just saying, there's some stuff out there going on that you can, some plausible situations to consider.
Yeah, I don't think San Francisco can afford him. They've got cap issues across the board.
Well, he's in. I've gotten a lot of money. I want to get a ring territory. If you want to consider that, but trust me, he's going to take every bit of money he can get his hands on. But
I was just gonna say, like, he left Green Bay for money.
Some guys will take a few $1 million less just to chase a ring. Just saying.
I kind of agree with that one. I agree. I'm not sure if that's where he is, but he has spent a few years in Vegas there, and he's definitely made a king's ransom. So if that's where he's in his career, by all means, by all means. There he is. Scottish Bear says Adams will end up at the Jets. The head coach and GM are both fighting for their jobs. That's very interesting.
That's real interesting. They're one of those teams that can enter that arms race.
Well, it's a very interesting landing spot. I would, if it was me and there was a suitor in the NFC, that's where I would want him to go. That's what I would want to do. But again, I can definitely see the Jets throwing a 2 with this. That's a worthwhile 2. Now you got a dangerous situation with him on one side and Garrett Wilson on the other side. Ooh, boy.
Don't forget to have that edge rusher that hasn't played yet, and he's not happy with his contract. What's his name? Hassan Reddick. That's trade bait to go on with that as well.
Oh,
yeah. So they have ammunition. They have ammunition and means to get this done.
That's interesting. Like the Raiders don't really need another edge, but it would improve the edge, right? So now they would have Max and Hassan Reddick. That'd be interesting.
Sugar up the deal, man. That's one way to do it.
That is. Players involved.
Chiefs interested in what, Allen?
Yeah, which Allen, brother? What it do, Black Rain? You talking about Keenan Allen?
Oh, yeah. That's what he's talking about.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think that rumor is going nowhere. They brought Keenan Allen here for a reason. They're gonna try to make a run with him. Is what they're gonna try to do. I don't think they're giving up no Keenan Allen unless you have something.
They just traded for him too.
Yeah, you don't. I don't see that.
You don't do that
unless there is a
unless they offer like a second or first round pick, then you might
crazy,
have to.
something crazy, or he asked for a trade or something like that.
Nick? What did we throw? What did we throw for that? What did we trade for Keenan?
A fourth, I think it was.
What if they recoup a 3?
See, if it's anything better than a fourth, I can see it, just because it's flipping a profit, if you will, trade wise. But I don't think that he's on the trade market. I genuinely think it was just people rumoring and talking something in the air that's not actually there. Typical sport media clickbait stuff, you know.
The minute Chat Sports does a show on something like that, people run with it. Just know that whenever they do something and throw something into the rumor mill, people just go take off, just like their hair is on fire, crazy with it. Like, come on, man, you can't. It's just stuff people need to get content, man. That's pretty much what it is.
Waddle to Pittsburgh, Wilson to Miami, and a 3rd round and a 4th. Raiders get a 3rd.
Now here's a very interesting thought, kids, and for you fantasy people out here. If the prospects of Tua Tungla, whatever his name is, I can't talk right now. If his prospects don't start looking any better and they don't see him coming back within the next 2-3 games from now, I can see come trade deadline Tyreek Hill wanting to move or to be moved. I don't see him wanting to stay in that situation without Tua. Their prospects, if anybody saw that game last night, knows that team won't be able to really move the ball without him there. If he's not there, what use do they have for someone explosive as Tyreek Hill? And the trade offers will be on the table.
That's one of the biggest questions in fantasy football and the NFL period right now. As a Tyreek Hill owner, I'm not sure what you do right now. It might be a situation where you look to cut your losses and find a trade, because this has nothing to do with his talent, man. He is one of the most talented human beings in the NFL, right? Like, without question, on multiple levels. And man, without a quarterback, it's a problem. He can't do it all by himself, and neither can his partner Waddle on the other side. Both those guys have really had their fantasy impact hit by this Tua Tagovailoa. Man, man, I usually just do it. Tagovailoa. There we go. Thank you very much. Without Tua, I don't know what this team does, and I like this team. I'm not a Dolphins fan by any stretch of the imagination, although I have mad family and mad love for the Florida area in general. But, geez, I like this team. I like this coach, and this is a situation that could really affect his tenure too. So I would hate to see that happen, and I hope Mike Macdonald gets the opportunity to continue, doing what he does best. I think he's one of the coolest coaches in the NFL. Not just his personality, but also, again, his football intelligence is very high. Right, gotta love that guy. But
things gonna turn around fast. He's gonna lose them.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know what you do, and I don't see Tua returning. If the Bears are paying his wages, no way Allen goes without big compensation. Remember, we will be getting a comp pick if Allen goes in free agency. I can't see him being traded. I can. I'm not sure if we are paying his wages. I think the Chargers are paying his wages, and we dealt the trade for those wages. And this is why they haven't re-signed him. Once we sign him, then we pay. We sign him to an extension, and we take on that contract. So that's where we are. They haven't done, Bears haven't done that contract yet. What it do, King Booker? What it do, Jay Sanders? Yeah, very simply because they haven't signed him. He could be traded anywhere, to be honest with you.
On another note, talking about receivers, there's a couple of guys on the Panthers team that are starting to raise a few eyebrows now that they have Andy Dalton playing. A couple of names you might want to mention there. Let me think. That and plus Justin Fields, probably the most explosive or boom or bust guy you can imagine playing in fantasy, but is absolutely the most explosive. I think the most explosive scorer among the quarterbacks thus far. I mean, he just had he went from a 28 point something to a 34, 36 point something, and he's sitting on my bench. But I got to strongly consider, you fantasy is all about boom or bust, man. You got to be willing to shake them dice and roll them. And so, I got that decision to make probably along with a whole bunch of other fantasy people. And, Justin Fields is out there probably still in a handful of leagues, but I think it's a lot of people picking him up and stashing him now.
Imagine he put up almost 37 fantasy football points in a loss. That's pretty crazy. Against a very stout defense. Right, that's pretty nuts. So just fact of the matter is his fantasy football output is not to be questioned if given the opportunity to start. So let's just be real. He may be available in a few leagues. Let me take a closer look at Mr. Fields here. Give me 1 second. But he may be available, y'all. And I mean, if he's available in your league, by all means, go find Justin Fields, stash him, use him as you see fit from a game by game case scenario, right? That's really, really how you want to look at Justin Fields.
Who's he facing this week?
Justin Fields is facing the Dallas Cowboys this week. Dallas Cowboys defense has not been spectaculoso.
No Micah Parsons, no Marcus Lawrence. He might be in my starting lineup this week.
There you have that. All right. So Justin Fields is available in 40. He's rostered in 43% of leagues out there, which is pretty high. That being said, same token, he may still be available in 57% of leagues. So keep your eyes peeled for Justin Fields. It's those rushing yards that will sort of keep him in the conversation all the time. Just like good old Lamar Jackson, right? The two of them have the opportunity to really put it down on the ground and in the air when it works. Y'all know about Justin. I don't have to tell you much more. But
all I see is steady improvement, man. And I think the more and more they give him opportunity, I think the more and more he shines. We know what Justin Fields can do when given the boost of confidence, and he's got healthy people around him. Only thing is, they have lost a couple of their starting lineups. James Daniels, I think, is done for the season. They're starting right guard. I think their rookie tackle, what is his name? Fatanu. Fatanu is down for the season. And I think one more guy they lost. So, Justin Fields is a great start, but you have to consider, he's playing behind a pretty beat up offensive line at the same time.
Well, he's used to that. So I don't see it.
Almost makes him a little more dangerous, don't it?
It just might. It just might make him more dangerous. Speaking of that run capability of his. So he's pretty used to dealing with shaky offensive lines. We'll see. We'll see how that impacts his fantasy output. I don't think it will. I think he's good for a good 20 odd points a week, give or take, plus minus a few. But I don't know. That's my take on Justin Fields. He's out there. We can look at some of these other guys. Why?
There's a lot of people that need receiver backup now that Rashee Rice is down. Man, we may want to take a look at some of those guys that might be available. While you're doing that, somebody's pecking at my door. I'll be right back, kids.
That's all right. So Joe Flacco seems to be trending up. He came in towards the end of that game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Anthony Richardson went down hurt. I'm not sure if that's going to be a long-term situation for Anthony Richardson. It may not. If Joe Flacco winds up being the starting quarterback over there for one reason or the next, it might bode well, right? Keep your eyes peeled on a Joe Flacco situation, especially, again, if you're in the quarterback market, you need a guy. Your quarterbacks are not doing what you thought they were going to do, which neither one of mine are at this present time, except for Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray seems to be doing very well this fantasy football season, this 2024 season. I got to give Kyler Murray a little bit of props. Geno Smith's also doing quite well, too. I don't know if you guys got to see the Monday night game. I thought it was a really good game. I thought Geno Smith played spectacularly in a losing situation. He's only rostered in 43% of leagues out there as opposed to, free in 57. By all means, if you are on the hunt for a QB, you may want to pay a little bit of attention to Geno. That's my thoughts there. Just checking out you guys out there in the world. Dallas Cowboys are the Trevor Lawrence of the NFL. Wow, that's straight from the Mighty King Booker world, y'all. I'm just keeping it real, throwing it out there. That's pretty funny. Jeez. JF2 will be flying up draft boards. They're warming up to JF. Yeah, no kidding. It should be known. Should be something folks are paying attention to. I'm usually rolling with Geno Smith or Sam Darnold. Yeah, Mr. Darnold's he's right there. He's the next guy in the QB list. Ain't nothing wrong with those receivers in Minnesota. There's nothing wrong with that receiving core. Running backs ain't too bad either. So they kind of wound up in a great situation, and Sam Darnold found himself in an even better situation, and the dude's loving it. Hey, dude, he's loving it. He's got some Sam Darnold love.
I drafted him just for the intent of being a backup. He's messed around and became my starter. Like, I knew that he was going to put up some touchdowns with Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, but man, oh man, he's balling out.
Yeah.
Kevin O'Connell unlocked something out of this dude, and that's why I have Minnesota ranked so high as a team, just because of that. Like, the QB is going to put up points. That defense is going to stop it. Like, that team is going to be unstoppable come playoff time, honestly.
Well, yeah, it's for me, it's that defense. That's really what throws it all, or like puts it all together for me. That Brian Flores defense is insanity, and we've seen it a ton here in Chicago, and we will see it in a couple of weeks. And I don't really want to see it at all, to be frank with you.
Are we just talking about quarterbacks now, or are we just giving some nuggets out?
Well, we're talking about quarterbacks, but we're talking about Sam Darnold on the Minnesota Vikings. I'm just saying Brian Flores' defense is nasty. That's all. That's where we were.
The red rifle, though. I said it, and I said it. Listen, this is a new fantasy show, but you'd be a fool not to pay attention to the nuggets we give out here. I told you the red rifle would be Andy Dalton would be a good pickup for somebody who's struggling with their quarterbacks, and sure as shit, and he's out there putting up numbers.
I don't know why Taysom Hill up here as a quarterback. He put 14 points. Shame on you, sleeper. Anyhow, by all means, Taysom Hill as a tight end, but not as a QB. We'll just jump straight over to our guy Jaden Daniels, because there's no other thing to do but to jump over to Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels has started to become a thing, guys, in the NFL. He's starting to become a thing. He can move, he can throw. His pocket presence is pretty decent. He doesn't seem to be very rattled back there. The question was really, was Washington going to be able to protect this kid? They can also run the football. Offense is starting to look decent over there in Washington.
Can I say one thing real quick about Washington?
Absolutely.
And this is coming from a Kyler Murray fan. This is a fair warning to those who have Jaden Daniels. While he's doing great right now, Cliff Kingsbury and his offenses tend to slow down big time come November. So just be wary of how you play him.
I was gonna say what I was gonna say is something akin to what the dude just said, but you just don't know what trajectory he's on. Is he on that CJ Stroud trajectory? And once he caught a groove, he just never looked backwards, or is that the somebody gonna pop the balloon with a BB gun and is air gonna come out of that thing? You know what I mean? Because you expect the rookie to hit a rookie wall at some point.
Well, we'll see if that's what happens. I know that's sort of what both of you guys are suggesting. It might just be that he has a bit more familiarity with the air raid system that that Kingsbury brought into the NFL with Kyler Murray as well as with Washington now. Same token, a lot of folks, including yourself there, King of Pop, and Coach T, said that Jaden Daniels is probably the more pro-ready quarterback in this year's draft. Seems to be proving that pretty well in the NFL right now. But who's to say that this is not a weak portion of the season for this team? I don't know. I'm not that big of a I'm not that big of a Commanders guy. But I am impressed by what they've been doing, and his performance with the lights extra bright last Monday, he performed very well. So again, I expect him to continue to put up 20-odd points here a week. Terry McLaurin looking real good. So is the rest of that wide receiver core.
If you were to inject me with true serum right now and give me the choice of choosing which of the trajectories he might hit, I think whoever's got him on their team has themselves a ball. Flat out. That's just what my instincts tell me. I think he's going to just ball.
I wish I could argue with that. I feel the exact same way. And there he is doing it. So I think they'll continue to do that. And the more important factor is, if you had the opportunity to see the game out last week Monday, their run game works. A lot of the issues that Chicago has been having over the last couple of weeks aren't really plaguing this team. I don't see them, I don't see the level of offensive line failure over there that I've been seeing in Chicago. Things are pretty stable for him. Not to mention his running backs, that run game, that line for the run is working. They're getting yardage via that means. So it makes things a little bit easier for him to manage. That said, Jaden Daniels, folks, grab him if you can. Let's take a look at the RBs. Trey Sermon.
I got a nugget for you guys.
What do you got?
If you have running back problems and you got question marks like I do, one guy you might want to go and look at, and all you had to do is compare the amount of attempts and usages versus from the last 2 weeks. I'm talking about two running backs. Look at Travis Etienne and Tank Bigsby. Look at the usage and the yardage for each one of those guys the last couple of weeks, and you'll see why I would say they're probably trending towards more usage of Tank Bigsby, in the coming weeks, because he's the more and more they give him the ball, the more and more he produces. And if you know anything else about when teams are struggling and question marks around coaching and quarterback play, the first thing they do is start trying to flip the deck, turn the table over, and give some guys some opportunities, see if they can get a spark. And I see somewhere, I think this cat's going to get an opportunity, man.
Well, that's not the craziest thing I've heard, right? So this week here, Tank Bigsby put up 11 fantasy football points. 29% of snaps, 7 attempts, 90 yards rushing on the ground. That's pretty solid numbers there this past week. Reality is that Travis Etienne hurt his shoulder. All right, so they pulled him out of the game, I assume. That gave Tank Bigsby the opportunity to really make his impression felt. Question is, will that shoulder injury continue on into week 5? If it does, Tank Bigsby might be a really solid look at the running back position. Good eye, sir. Good eye.
Well, thank
I
you.
like that. I like that. Trey Sermon's getting a lot of love and looks, and the reality here is that I think folks just want things to shake up. But shake up in Colts in Indianapolis. John Taylor's also hurt. He has a bit of an ankle issue, so they may give Trey Sermon the opportunity to lead the backfield. Keep your eyes peeled on that situation as it moves forward. So that's a possibility.
Yeah,
I like Trey Sermon coming out of college. If he gets an opportunity, not to say he's going to be better than Jonathan Taylor as a lead back. Regardless, if you need a running back for a week or maybe a couple of weeks, depending on how long John Taylor could be out, Trey Sermon's a good look.
But let me throw this out here because there's a lot of people that Christian McCaffrey was their first pick in a lot of drafts out here. A lot of people probably picked him up the number one pick in their draft. Interesting thing to note. He's got not an Achilles injury in one leg. He's got two. And he's been over in Germany doing some kind of weird treatment and some weird, whatever it is weird going on. It started off with one leg, one Achilles injury that he was some kind of strain that he was suffering from. And, when you're doing rehab on stuff like that, I had one real rehab that I ever did in my life. I had high ankle sprain going into my freshman year of college, and I overcompensated with my other leg. And so what I did was, as I was rehabbing that foot, I overcompensated on my other and started causing problems on my other foot. And so to me, when I heard about he's got both Achilles that are strained, that told me that he's working his ass off and doing rehab, and he probably overcompensated with his other one and caused a little stress there. But word is that he's going to start, and I don't know if they're just saying this stuff to kind of scare off other teams and make them plan for somebody they don't plan on using, but word is that he's going to start doing some football stuff this week. I doubt if he plays next week or the week after that. If you got Achilles problems, he won't be playing for the next couple of weeks. But that's a guy, if I had him on my team, I'd strongly consider trading it for somebody.
So here, yeah. So I've been in this situation before. There's good luck with the trade. I'm just being real. This is why I have Tyreek Hill. I had the number one selection in one of my leagues and skipped over Christian McCaffrey for Tyreek Hill because, again, nothing negative about Christian McCaffrey. The fact of the matter is running backs get hurt. They do. You have to worry about that as a fantasy football player. You have to worry about that. It is an issue out there. So you want quantity, you want quality as opposed to just quality. And in the case of Christian McCaffrey, he's been hurt very frequently, as has Saquon Barkley, to be frank with you. Right now, Saquon Barkley's leading fantasy football running backs, period. Right? So just to put that out there. So it's always a hit or miss with the running backs. It really and truly is. Strangely, I still draft a bunch of them, but there's certain ones I'm a little bit trepidatious with. CMC is one of them.
Everything you got Cleveland Browns, put it out in your fire pit and light it up. They're in trouble in Cleveland.
Not liking the Cleveland situation, eh?
It's just bad, man. It's just bad. Something's just not right. And
the Cleveland defense is still nasty. I'm just going to put that out there. The offense, I'm with you. Stay far away.
Yeah, I hate to even say it, but it's the truth.
Stay away.
Miami Dolphins too. Yep. Get away from that.
What are you doing? says the guy who owns says a Tyreek Hill owner. We'll just look at some of these other running backs. We did touch on DeAndre Swift a little bit earlier. Again, he's super rostered. He's not available. Just a monster performance this week. Let's hope that continues moving forward. Here's another situation that deserves some sort of a look. Yeah, he's steadily outpacing Zeke.
Oh yeah.
Say what?
Zeke's only there to be a goal line guy. You know what? What's interesting about Zeke? Past 4 years, I've seen that guy play at half speed with a knee injury, with a knee brace on. This is the first year I could say that he hasn't worn a knee brace, which is, I don't know if you're looking at him from a fantasy perspective, it's kind of refreshing to see and you're tempted, but I don't see you'd have to be real desperate to put Zeke in, but he will be their goal line back. So he'll get touchdowns if they can get close.
Well, what I'm saying here is Rico Dowdle is a look as opposed to Zeke. Rico he's seeing up to 45% of snaps, and this is a trend now. So 44 in week 1, 43 in week 2, 46 week 3, 45 in week 4. So he's basically out snapping the rest of the running back core on his own. So we'll see. We'll see how he continues to progress. The real question is, in a week like week 5, he's up against that Steelers defense, and yeah, they're pretty nasty too, right?
Not bad.
Not bad at all. Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So, yeah. So even though he's on this list, I'm going to suggest that you don't do this. I'm not a believer in the Clyde Edwards-Helaire thing. Never have been. I'm still not. Unfortunately, he hasn't played a game this season. This is really due to the situations by way of injury that have sort of been plaguing the Kansas City Chiefs, right? So whoever winds up taking over as the lead back, whether it's Kareem Hunt, Carson Steele, Samaje Perine, I don't know who it's going to be. I just personally don't feel like it's going to be Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I feel like at this point he's kind of fallen out of favor in Kansas City. But that's my take.
King Booker has an interesting point on the screen right now. He's saying that Nick Chubb returns this week, he thinks. Now, here's what I would say to fantasy people, and this is all football.
It's week 5.
Yeah.
You're right.
Even though he's been out, I'm just not I don't know, man. Whenever guys come back from significant injuries, especially to the lower extremities, it feels like, man, you expect Nick Chubb to be Nick Chubb, but man, common knowledge tells me he's not going to be that right away. I'm not saying he won't be that again, but right away, it's kind of hard for me, right from fresh off of an injury and no NFL tackles for about a year and some change, to put him in my starting lineup. I'd be tempted, but
it hasn't been that long, right? So maybe it has been
all the time, man.
So he got it midway through last season. He was out. He's had a very long time to sort of rehab this through. They knew he wasn't going to be ready for the start of the season. They put him on IR. Now would be a good time for him to show back up. Anybody on IR is eligible at week 4. I think they can go as far as week 8. I think. But I think week 4 is when you can come back. We'll have to see. We'll have to see if Nick Chubb shows back up. Those of you who've been stashing on that Nick Chubb, keep your eyes peeled, keep your ear to the ground. There may be some noise saying that he's going to start this week. And if that's the case, again, very interesting look by way of Nick Chubb.
When he's right.
Ain't nothing else going on in Cleveland, really.
When he's right, he's a fantasy points factory.
Oh, yeah. No question. Well, even then, right? Like there ain't nothing else going on really with that offense. So, he'd be a good look. That's my thoughts there.
It is really slim pickings in the running back group, man. It really is. These defenses are so good. Teams are having a real hard time running the ball unless you Derrick Henry right now.
It depends where you're at, right? Depends what team you're looking at. Running backs are doing actually quite well. Jahmyr Gibbs, great performance. Same team, same with David Montgomery. Great performance on Monday night. Running backs are putting up decent numbers. Another guy who's overlooked out there, Austin Eckler. Austin Eckler puts up really decent numbers. Very surprising. Got to keep your eyes peeled on who's who in the zoo by way of running backs. Another running back to look at, James Cook.
He's already rostered, man. Nobody's.
He is. If it depends, he's been hurt and
give me something. Give me something. I don't know. We talking about commodity.
All right.
James Cook's gonna start.
What about this guy? He's not a running back, so maybe we'll move off of the RBs and over to the WRs. How about that? Let's do that, and let's talk about a guy who's right here. Boom, right at the bottom. Look at my sneaky look.
It's all right. I like
that. My sneaky look. So this offense is starting to come together a little bit, and he's gotten a decent amount of targets over the last little while. Things were a little bit low versus Washington. 12 targets week 1, 4 versus Washington in week 2, 8 targets in week 3, up to 14 targets in week 4. And this is across the field from Malik Neighbors, who's just eating targets and putting up redonkulous fantasy football points week on week, which was totally to be expected if you're sleeping on Malik Neighbors. The problem over there is clearly Daniel Jones. Without very much more to say. And the run game's a little bit shaky too. But those two wide receivers
doesn't look bad, man. He really hasn't, man. And to talk about Malik Neighbors, his usage is looking more like those last couple of seasons with Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams. He just targeting.
Yeah, they can use him in any kind of way because he's any kind of good. Like any which way you put him in, get the ball in his hand, he's a monster, and that was evident from his college tape. Goes without saying. So that was just Wan'Dale Robinson, the New York Giants. Good look. Let me just look at his roster situation. He's rostered in 47% of leagues out there. So 53. That's a pretty high rostering for a Wan'Dale Robinson. I'm actually kind of surprised by that. Another guy to look at, 20% rostered out there, Dontavian Wicks. That surprises the heck out of me. But Jordan Love is back, y'all. And I believe Christian Watson is hurt.
Yeah.
So keep your eyes peeled with respect to that. Dontavian Wicks out there, only rostered in 20% of leagues. His target share alone in versus Minnesota was 13 targets. Oh wow, almost 25 fantasy points on the week. So I expect things to look similarly moving forward against the Los Angeles Rams. Who the Chicago Bears just beat. And that being the case, it should be an interesting contest. I feel like, if you got them, start them.
I think the receiver in L.A., Whittington, might jump on some people's radar. He got some pretty good usage.
And there he is right there on the list. Let's look at Jordan Whittington. Jordan Whittington, 8% rostered, 12 fantasy points last week. 97% snaps, y'all, in the absence of Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. 8 targets, not too shabby. If you are in need by way of wide receiver, take a look at Jordan Whittington. He might be a viable look. Trey Tucker is another name. It seems that, again, during this Devontae Adams fallout, Trey Tucker seems to have fallen in. Gardner Minshew is hitting Trey Tucker. Trey Tucker's seen Trey Tucker's had 78% of snaps in week 1, 60 in week 2. Weeks 3 and 4, 81 and 85% of snaps for Trey Tucker. His target share jumped in week 3 from 2 at a low to 9, and then another 6 in week 4. He's been putting up decent fantasy football numbers over the last couple of weeks. Given, again, the words that we just shared with you guys today by way of Devontae Adams, he might be in a situation where they don't want to play him or target him. They may change the way that they utilize him on the football field. all highly possible. With Trey Tucker being a little bit more in favor at this point, perhaps he's somebody that Gardner Minshew likes to play with and may wind up targeting that much more. So keep your eyes peeled on a Trey Tucker. Good fantasy football look in that respect. I'm going to look at Josh Downs. I'm not going to make the suggestion to you guys. I don't trust this. I'd need a couple more weeks of.
Can I drop a nugget?
Sure.
They've had problems throwing the ball with Quentin Richardson, and he got hurt during that game this week. I don't know how bad the injury is, but sometimes those backups. Well, I'll say this: a lot of times the backups get in, and everybody loves the backup, and all of a sudden, an offense and the receivers start to come to life. And so we might be looking at a backup in Indy this week, and all those receivers, Josh Downs, all the way down to whoever the hell between 1, 2, 3, and 4 might get more clean looks this week just because they have a new quarterback. So
you got it, bro.
To me, he's a good look for somebody.
That's exactly what I was going to say. So, fact of the matter is, I'm not sure if this is a sustainable thing. There's no evidence to prove this, but everything that the King of Pop just alluded to is bang on truth. If this week, for some reason, again, injury being the case, if Joe Flacco is the starting quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts,
I didn't know Joe Flacco was there. Oh, hell yeah. Grab this dude then.
That's what I'm trying to. I'm rolling right with you, right? So if Joe Flacco starts this thing up on Sunday, by all means, if you're hurting for wide receiver, right? Take a flyer on these Indianapolis Colts wide receivers. Josh Downs being the premier one to look at because he's only rostered in 29% of leagues out there. So
before you go, let me take a look at who they're playing this year. Let's see who they're dealing with this week.
They're up against Jacksonville, so they'll put up numbers for sure. This will be a good time to take a flyer on a Josh Downs, just given the matchup. If you wanted to do so last week, if you did, would have netted you 22 fantasy football points for your at the wide receiver position or at a flex spot.
You got a question.
What it is.
And guess who has him and benched him?
I noticed it, dude. Yeah, thanks, dude.
You got a question from a
generational clown.
You got a question from a new viewer in there.
I got you. Paracchio or Paraico. Yeah, that's it. What happens to G. Wilson? Ross? If Devontae goes to the Jets. Oh.
I'm talking about Garrett Wilson.
Yeah, but what is Ross?
I think he's talking about I think he's trying to talk about if Devontae goes, what's his
receptions
going to be like? Yeah. What's his numbers going to be like? They're going
to you're talking about his numbers, here's the reality, right?
They're going to go down, dude.
Hold on. And that's not necessarily true. Right,
yeah,
so his targets, not necessarily. His targets will go down clearly because he'll be splitting with Devontae Adams. Fact of the matter, he's probably double teamed all the time as it is. So now they have to make a decision as to who to double team. Just remember that.
Well, that
both these guys are going to eat.
He wants to know a real plain and simple question: is his usage going to go down? Is his targets going to go down if they grab Devontae Adams? And I'm going to tell you, yes, multiplied 10 times. Yes, it is going to go down. I don't know that you want to not play him or trade him or anything like that. I wouldn't do that, but his usage you won't see as many targets. He'll get targeted, but not as many times.
I don't know. I don't see it being a major. I see it opening him up just the same.
You could play two ways, but that was a real simple question.
I'm giving him both sides of it. I'm giving him both sides. You're right though. You're right though. There's no question. Devontae will affect the numbers. Those numbers will drop, but it might not be a major dip in his actual fantasy output. We'll see.
It's a dangerous. I would the rest of the season. Yeah. It's going to be questionable at best.
Yeah. And here's the thing, when you're looking at it right now, that offense isn't really doing very much at all. which makes it hard to look at, right? So I don't know. It might be a situation where right now teams are shading towards Garrett Wilson because they can.
Yeah.
Right. Put another guy on the other side, and who do you shade towards? Who are you going to double team? And it could be either and or. So considering the numbers that the Jets have been putting up these last few weeks, it might increase the numbers overall. I don't know.
He's going to be on the trade block if they pick up Davante Adams. I guarantee you.
There's no way they trade Garrett Wilson.
Well, they're not going to trade. I'm talking about in fantasy leagues.
Oh. I wouldn't trade Garrett Wilson even then.
Just saying. But let's carry on.
All right. Mr. Wilson would become a high-end number 2 wide receiver, in my opinion, says Mo Fugra. That's his thoughts. It's an interesting, as opposed to a top-end number 1. Wow. Like, the funniest part about this is that it's Aaron Rodgers, and he's going to feed Davante.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it might bump him down to Mo Fugra, it might bump him down to a high-end number 2. I think that's a good way of looking at it. I'm not sure how that affects Davante Adams' numbers. I'm not sure if that also drops Davante Adams to a number 2 as well.
Rodgers doesn't hold on just to one guy, though. He knows how to spread it. I mean, look, for example, when he used to tear up the Bears defense when he had Randall Cobb and Jordy Nelson, he had a few people to throw to. He wasn't just feeding one guy. He was kind of feeding the hot hand, if you will. So that would happen with the Jets. They'd both be low-end wide receiver 1s, to be honest with you.
Nick makes a good point because I think the role he would play, just flip the script around, that offense that they ran in Green Bay would be akin to what they'll be doing. And I see Garrett Wilson playing the Randall Cobb role. Really working on the interior, getting in the interior, getting those kind of balls, and Davante Adams working well on. He's going to do the crossing patterns too. He works well doing that role, but he's going to definitely be the more vertical target.
Parayko, man, that's a crazy. Yeah, I would have taken this deal too, bro. So he would be my wide receiver 2. Jefferson would be my number 1. Someone offered me Garrett Wilson and Stafford for Rice and Pacheco last night in a redraft Superflex, and I accepted.
Man,
You're darn straight you did.
You just hit that dude over the head with a bag of nickels. That's what you did.
Yeah. That was mean and and evil, bro. I don't know what else to call that, bro. Parayko, that's just cold-blooded. I like, you probably took that. You probably pressed accept so fast. You know what I mean? Like, instant
took
accept.
His money, took his shoes, took his wallet.
Firstborn. Who knows, man? That's a crazy trade.
And snatched his chain.
Might as well, because
that guy got straight up pilfered.
Poor guy. Like, I feel terrible for that guy. Oh, man, that's just cold-blooded.
That's bad, man. All right, what else we got, man?
All right, let's keep her moving. Who else we got? Tutu Atwell. Yeah, it didn't pan out all that super great against us. I don't see it panning out all that super great against Green Bay. But if we're talking about a good 12 points, I think he'll put up another good 12 points against Green Bay this coming week. So keep your eyes peeled. Only rostered in 16% of leagues. He's very available out there if you're looking for a wide receiver to put up about 12 or 15.
Green Bay showed some leakage in that secondary this week, some serious leakage. And what other quarterback in the league can really take advantage of that? But Matthew Stafford, I play Tutu Atwell this week.
Well, this one goes without saying. He's rostered in 92% of leagues. This is Xavier Worthy, folks. With Rashee Rice down, if you got him, play him. If you're not playing him, start playing him. Worthy's the truth. He's right up there as far as I'm concerned with with Malik Neighbors. Those two guys are just so dynamic with the football in their hands. Who else this week did I want to highlight? This guy or anybody from this team. Look, guys, it looks like somebody can throw a football in Carolina. So that's kind of what's going on. Deontay Johnson has been putting up redonkulous numbers week on week here since the benching of Bryce Young. That is a really unfortunate thing to ever have to say, but it is the unfortunate truth. There's that. He's pretty heavily rostered in 86% of leagues out there. If you're not starting him, start him. If you can find him out there on the waiver wire, get him. I doubt you can, though. Mind you, he's up against the Chicago Bears team this coming week with probably, again, top 5 secondary in the league. I am going to say this, though. This is the Andy Dalton revenge game. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah,
I still think it's a Bears W. I'll put that out there right now.
That ain't going to go well, but carry on.
I think it'll go fantastically. I'm not worried about that at all. But, we'll see what kind of numbers these guys put up on the back end. Another guy I wanted to touch on here. There's a couple more in the wide receiver position. Brian Thomas Jr., BTJR. This guy's the real deal. Seeing over 70% of snaps since week 1. Fantasy points just around 10 plus since week 1. Last week broke out quite a bit against Houston with a 21-point game. I can only see this continuing for him. The downside here is just the debacle that the Jacksonville Jaguars are across the board. So, be careful, be more careful with Brian Thomas Jr. this coming week against an Indianapolis Colts defense that's pretty dangerous. Any thoughts on Mooney from Mo Fugra? Let's find out. You know what? Darnell Mooney's Darnell Mooney. Again, he's been a critical part of this team. I think he'll continue to be a critical part of the Falcons' offense. But as far as fantasy football output is concerned, it's like touch and go, semi-pedestrian. Right?
I got a different take on it, but go ahead.
Do you? I'm just saying the real upside here, as far as Darnell Mooney is concerned, he's part of the offense. He's an integral part. 100% of snaps versus 95, 93, 96% of snaps over the past 4 weeks. He's a part of this offense. The question is, can they get him and utilize him? Can they get him involved? Can they utilize him? I think they can. The question is, will they against a Tampa Bay defense? And in that respect, for next week, I'm going to say, yeah, they probably actually can utilize Mooney in the coming week and in the following week versus Carolina. So these next 2 weeks, to me, if we're talking Darnell Mooney, I think it bodes well.
All right. My take on Darnell Mooney. Here's 2 things that Mooney and who is it, the quarterback? I'm thinking what's his name? Come on, help me out.
So what now?
The quarterback of the Falcons. What's his name?
Kirk Cousins.
Kirk Cousins. The 2 things they have one thing in common. They both play in the West Coast offense. That's what this is. Number 1. Number 2, they're getting used to each other. So what they have in common is the same, but their usage with each other, they're getting used to. Like I've picked up a few Falcons games here and there just to see how that thing's going, or do they even look like a real contender for a playoff spot, all that kind of thing. And that's what I'm noticing, that they're just off. He's just missing them. Like they're right there. I mean, when I say right there, they are right there. I think pretty soon Darnell Mooney is going to be, probably his number 1 target soon. I'll be flat out honest with you, man. I just think that's going to, whatever you see in Darnell Mooney now, I think it's going to multiply as the season goes on, because they're just getting used to each other and, how to throw the ball to him, how to run the routes that are good for Kirk Cousins to look at, giving them. It's just a lot of little nuanced stuff to it. And I just every time I look, I see it keep getting better and better. I think Darnell Mooney is a hell of a fantasy pickup if you have him, because I think it's just going to increase as the season goes on.
Well, I can't argue with any of that. I think his numbers will probably step up as well. So, by all means, take a peek at Darnell Mooney if available in your league. Again, 66% rostered, 44% availability out there for a good old Mr. Mooney. Who else did I want to look at?
Question out there.
What up? Yeah, he has Deontay too. Question: would you start Deontay over Wilson? The questions then are: who are they playing?
Right now, the Bears, Deontay against the Bears. Hell no, I take Wilson.
But who's Wilson playing? Like, I'm with you, but just for sake.
Garrett Wilson, right?
I know. Bear with me.
I take Wilson. I don't know who they're playing, but I pick up Wilson in that one.
Yeah. It's super funny. Like, so Xavier Legette is another wide receiver that I would say is trending up, and y'all should look at. But again, against this Bears defense this coming week, I would bench both of those guys.
So who's Wilson playing against?
I don't see where I don't have the Jets anywhere that I can find. Here we go. Minnesota. Yeah, nope.
Aaron Rodgers is the epitome of blitz beater. And see, styles make fights in football games. Styles make fights. Guy like Brian Flores trying to attack Aaron Rodgers with those exotic blitzes and that organized chaos that he does. That's the exact wrong dude you want to do that to. He will find the open guy, and all those dudes will be Aaron Rodgers will burn the shit out of him, basically. So I like Wilson in this game. That's just the way I see it. You don't want to you try to blitz that guy too many times, it's gonna be dudes running wide open. They're gonna get long touchdowns with Aaron Rodgers throwing the ball.
That is very true. The way that defense works against these young, fresh rookie year 2 quarterbacks is a different thing versus a veteran quarterback like Aaron Rodgers. But
there's 3 quarterbacks in NFL right now off the top of my head that I wouldn't design a blitz heavy scheme to try and beat. You want to blitz them sometime, but you don't want to be Brian Flores trying to beat Aaron Rodgers, nor Patrick Mahomes, nor Matthew Stafford. They will burn you. Yeah,
that would be my list too. So there you have it. That's where the Jets are at there. Yeah, I would have to say I would go Garrett Wilson right along with you. No questions there.
What we got left?
Jerry Jeudy. So we already finished dissecting the whole Cleveland thing, but if you gotta put a guy out there, this guy's a wide receiver, y'all. He actually really is. Question is, can his quarterback get the football to him? So we'll leave that there. He's getting 90 to 86% of the snaps, almost 10 targets a game. Keep your eyes peeled. He'll put up respectable numbers for you if you're in a pinch.
Got another question, SuperFlex.
What do we got? How do you feel about having Mahomes and Anthony Richardson as your 2 quarterbacks in the SuperFlex league?
Hurting for certain.
That's not bad at all. There's nothing wrong with that at all. You got the number 1
quarterback. You better have a third quarterback when Patrick Mahomes.
That's just what I was gonna say. You need to have somebody. Who else do you have there? Perico. Who else? Who's your backup QB? Watch, you probably have somebody real good. But those two are.
I'd take Snoop Huntley right now over Anthony Richardson. He's the backup in Miami.
That's just cold-blooded. But the funny part is, it's not crazy just because of the receiving core that he has, right? Like he might throw a 3-yard out and have Tyreek Hill just yak all day long and get to the end zone. He got Stafford. Wow, you're kidding me, bro. Man, yeah, you just bench Stafford until later in the season when 1 or 2 of those wide receivers return, and you can utilize him as you see fit.
What is that guy doing to those guys in his league, man? He's giving them those Diddy pills or something. Got them paralyzed in the head from the neck down. They can't.
Yeah. You are just running ruckshod over whatever fantasy football league you got going on, Bryco. That's pretty crazy. You got Patrick Mahomes, Stafford, Wilson, and wow, A-Rich too, man. I don't know. So A-Rich might be hurt this week, so keep your eyes peeled on that side of it. He might wind up hurt. You may, I hate to say something crazy like this, but if you can find him, if Joe Flacco's out there, grab him for the week, throw him in, just for the week. That's my thoughts there. Or even Stafford. Anyways, let's get this baby moving here. So we pretty much hit wide receiver, running back, and quarterback. Couple of tight ends to talk about. Big one would be Cole Kmet. That's my thoughts right off the bat. Super rostered, not much you can do there, but Cole's input is increasing. 90% of the snaps, only 3 targets this week here. A lot of blocking snaps for Cole this week. Even then, I believe his usage is going to start to explode. And look at him again one more time on the dude's roster. Dude, you suck. What else do we have? Zach Ertz. Yeah, they're using the tight end in Washington. 7 odd points, about 60 odd % of the snaps. If you're really looking for some tight end help, because I know Travis Kelce hasn't been putting up fantastic numbers, might want to look at Zach Ertz. He's decent. Cade Otton is more decent. 11 points this past week versus Philadelphia. 95, 100, 91% of snaps over the past few weeks. He's getting some decent targets, 6 to 7 targets week on week. Cade Otton is a good look for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Buccaneers are up against the Atlanta Falcons this coming week. The Falcons defense has been playing very well. So, if you're really desperate for a tight end, he might be a good look. But again, this might be a rough week in that respect. Only rostered in 19% of leagues. So keep your eyes peeled for Cade Otton.
Let me, if you don't mind, I'm going to take liberty and answer this question by Mo Fugler. He said he's got Herbert, talking about Khalil Herbert stash in one of his leagues. What do you think chances the Bears trade him and to who? I think as of right now, the only way you can describe or have any rationale as to why he's not getting snaps is they're fattening him up for for a nice feast. And they're gonna probably, if I had to, I think they're gonna trade him because that's the only reason I can think of why he's not playing. And the team that comes right to mind is the Dallas Cowboys. They need a running back. If they ever want to change the trajectory of where that team is going right now, they need a more qualified running back. And I think Dallas is the place.
So Dallas just got Cook, Dalvin Cook.
He's on the
price. He hasn't seen a snap.
Sitting around. What does that tell you?
I don't know. I'm not sure what it tells me at all. Maybe he's hurt.
On the practice squad and not being picked up by another team tells me that guy ain't ready to play football yet.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying it makes it. I would think it's a little bit less likely that. I hate to say this. I don't think anything happens with Khalil Herbert at all. I think Khalil Herbert rides this bench and sees a couple of targets. Sees a couple of snaps here and there by way of injury to the other Bears running backs. That's my thoughts. I don't see him getting much shine, and unfortunately, I don't think they're going to get very much in return for a Khalil Herbert because of it. But that's my 2 cents there. You think maybe to the Chiefs? Not a crazy move. Actually, that move makes a lot of sense, Mofugra. That's not crazy, especially given the relationship between the two teams. That's not crazy. Matt Nagy's over there. That's not crazy.
I haven't thought about that, but that's not crazy at all.
That's not crazy at all. We'll see if that pans out. Like my simple problem with it, they're gonna give us peanuts for it, and we're gonna accept it. Hate that. Get something for these guys. Sorry, y'all. I forgot this was a SuperFlex show. Went into No Man at Night just for a minute. All right. Tight ends. Evan Ingram's always a good look. Always a good look. They're going to continue to utilize the tight end, and he's coming back off an injury. Again, I don't know. Like that this Jacksonville thing worries me altogether. But that's it. I'm going to jump off of the tight end. I think we're pretty solid there.
I could tell you a tight end secret, but I need to keep something to myself, so I'm gonna shut the hell up.
Oh, top secret. So Dalton Schultz is a look. Obviously, he's available in about 58% of leagues. Tyler Conklin is a good look, available in 67% of leagues. Same with Logan Thomas. I like Logan Thomas. I think they're going to start to utilize him a heck of a lot more. Taysom Hill's another good look, but his output is so boom and bust. I don't know. I don't know whether to suggest or not. Oh, it looks like he's hurt, which is crazy to have him on this trending up list if he's hurt. All right. So I think we're pretty square there. Kickers. Keep your eyes peeled on guys like Cameron Dicker, Matt Gay in for the Colts, Daniel Carlson as well for the Raiders. Justin Herbert is out as far as injury is concerned. He may miss time. Keep your eyes peeled on that situation. We know about Deebo Samuels. We talked about Nick Chubb. And Austin Eckler may actually be missing this week. He seems to be down with a concussion, so a little bit of injury love for you guys there too. That being the case, I think we pretty much rounded out the better part of the week for fantasy football and for the SuperFlex show. Want to give you guys a whole bunch of love. I'll give big shout-outs to all you guys out there in the chat. Deuce One Effects, I saw you out there, my homie. Big shout-outs to you. Big love to the Nodge, always keeping it real, always representing with us. Shout-outs to the Plankster and Sheep Plank, as always. Top 10 Sports, big shout-outs to you for representing with us. King Booker World, super flexer. King Booker World was with us for a little bit. Same with the Scottish Bear. Always good to have you there all the way from across the pond. Black Rain was with us very shortly. Aunt Moss was with us too. These are the guys that always represent with us, and it's great to have you. Thanks for representing once again. And that being the case there, dude, take us home. Ready?